What's up, guys? This is Bull by the Fell-Handed. Today we are going to review the IS-5 Glory tank, also known as the Object 730. Very powerful vehicle. It is a Tier 8 Soviet tank. Very sweet looking model, if you want my honest opinion. Now, let's get into the gun. The gun on this tank is about what you're going to expect from, you know, your IS-6. 221 penetration, which is pretty darn good, and 390 alpha. Of course, your premium round has considerably more penetration, weighing in at 270 millimeters. Your aim time is 3.2, about what you'd expect out of an IS-6, and the accuracy 0.46. So obviously this tank is designed as a brawler. It is not a setback and snipe. This is more or less par for the course for a lot of the Soviet heavy tanks. Not very good accuracy, not very good aim time. They're mainly designed to sit there, side scrape, and fire away. Now, the armor profile on this tank is very impressive. You're going to find a lot of the similarities of the IS-6 in this particular vehicle. You've still got the pike nose, and you've got a lot of the basic same shape. You can't really notice much for the camo net, but the back is angled a bit. You can't really obviously tell. I don't think putting a camo net over the engine would have been my preference, but you know what? I didn't build the model, so it's fine. Now, this is a tough tank. I mean, you know, penetrating this tank from the front is going to take a very, very steady hand and a good gun. You know, it's kind of like, think of, you know, going up against an IS-7 hull down. You know, you're going to have issues. If you get this thing hull down, you're going to be set. Granted, of course, the gun depression is going to kind of leave you hanging. This has your typical Soviet gun depression, and it is just not where it needs to be. Granted, of course, this tank, that's kind of what your squat turrets, the typical flat turret of the Soviet army, the tanks, that's, you know, what limits its depression. Of course, you know, you can't necessarily always have, say for example, a small breach such as the STB, who has 10 degrees of depression and a very, you know, slim, small profile. So it essentially, guys, it has to do with the end of the breach, depending on how much depression you're going to have. Now, moving on, we put a round right there in the Craft Panther, and I wanted to really scope in and make sure I connect. I was concerned that I would miss, and if I fired and I ended up missing at close range, I would feel kind of silly. Now, I am aware there is a T-71 on top of the hill there, and I am kind of moving in this position by design. I was kind of curious what a T-71 could do to the top of this tank firing down on it. And as you, or excuse me, a Leopard. And as you can see, not a whole lot. I assumed that firing into the back through the upper deck there would kind of yield more damage, but he connected a lot. He just didn't make it happen. I don't really know whether or not he had the upgraded gun or what have you. But a tough tank nonetheless. There is a Luva, I believe that's how you pronounce it, on the other side over here, and we kind of exchange a few shots. I'm angled perfectly here. As you can kind of see, I was trying to side scrape off that rock just a little bit. Not enough to over angle the pike nose, just enough to just give it a little edge. There is a J Panther 2 over here I'm very aware of. I'm being cautious. I'm almost at the point where I have overextended, but if you look, I have allies near me, to my rear and to my left. If you look on the tactical map in the bottom right hand corner, so I have good coverage, so I'm not necessarily concerned about that. The only downside here is I'm looking at this J Panther 2 and he just pulls back like it's no big deal. So the Luva, however you say it, has excellent penetration, and he bounced around. Either he or the 3601 that went by went over there earlier. So either way, I decided to go ahead and see if I can just pull out of here and reposition, because neither one was really having a great deal of success penetrating my armor, and I kind of want to see. I have a feeling it will be very successful in close quarters, and that's kind of what I'm going around the corner here to right around G8, just to kind of see. The downside is, you know, medium range, which is where a lot of my fire is going to be here in a moment. It just takes so long for the thing to scope in. You know, I would highly recommend a vertical stabilizer, vents. Gosh, I don't even know if I would forego the rammer and just put a GLD on it. But the point is, it just, you know, once you get in there, you don't really need to scope in because all your targets are directly ahead of you. So I take a good round there from the T-32, and I decide to fall back down the hill a little bit. But when it's clear the T-32 isn't pressing the issue, I decide to push up. And let's, you know, see if I can't go toe-to-toe with this T-32 and see what he's about. Now, at this time, I understand I am going over here solo, and I will not have any backup, so I'm okay with that. I just clutch shot around right into him. Not really sure how that one penetrated him. He fired around at me, clutch shotted me, and it hit my tracks. So, good for me, bad for him. We're still pushing the issue. I'm not quite so lucky on this next clutch shot. It does nothing. And at this point, I decide to go ahead and initiate face hug. I know where his weak spots are. He may not know where my weak spots are. I'm going to pull back just a little bit, put one right in his machine gun port, and that finishes him off. Take cover as a round bounces off his corpse right there. And as I see him being engaged, I decide to push up because, you know, a moment ago I had no backup. Now I have somebody engaging this Luva. So let's get in here and let's make some things happen. So as I come in, I kind of keep track of where he's at. I put a clutch shot right there, auto lock shot into the side of his tank. And now I'm just waiting on a reload. We do have a Panther over there in the corner right there, harmlessly bouncing off of this beast of a tank. The downside is I can't really come outside of these rocks because then, you know, one of these guys are going to get a lucky shot on me. Good shots right here on the Luva. We go ahead and take him down, and the Panther is just on the prowl. So right before, of course, I can destroy him, he gets eliminated, and that's fine. So we're just now got the gun loaded. As you can see, there's only 3 guys left on the map. The downside, of course, to this tank is it is not fleet of foot. It's a bit slow because it has so much armor and such an awesome gun. It does have a 122 gun, something that's normally reserved for tier 10 vehicles, so that's, you've got to give it that. So moving on, there's only a heavy and a TD left. We're essentially just going to push up here and just see if we can get some end of game damage. It's always a good thing to try to get a little bit of end of game damage. The only downside is I have to scope in so much longer than a lot of these other guys who have high DPM guns. A lot of the German tanks scope in relatively quickly and have relatively high DPM compared to little old me. So we're going to see if I can't scope this poor guy. 3 seconds and some change just never felt so long, and we get that last penetration. We go ahead and shut him down, get him back to the garage a little bit early. So we had a good game. We did 25-65, got a little bit of assist damage. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you guys next time.